Alright, let's do this. Recently, I've had this grand idea of turning my room into a factory of some sort. Think of conveyor belts carrying small little electronics to my desk. Think of auto sorting systems for putting screws back into the right holder when I'm done. Think of a gaming desk that by the push of a button transforms into some workspace of some kind for whatever it is that I'm building. This is the vision I have in my head, and although I have no clue how to get there right now, I have a problem already standing in my way. That problem is organization. It really struck me that I had this problem when I went to look for some M2 screws for assembling a little monitor that I've been making. I went into my closet over there to look, and I spent about 30 minutes just emptying the whole closet trying to find these damn screws, only for it to be under a flower pot and in the back of my closet somewhere. And then I spent another 30 minutes putting everything back in. The reason why organization is so important for me to be able to continue creating things is because it gets you out of the flow when you have to look for tools and find the right thing, and it's not very conducive to a creative environment. And so today we are going to be addressing that problem. I've done some research on the best solutions online for your own at-home organization, and I put them together to create my own. And so I wanted to share that with you guys. Maybe you guys can pull some inspiration from it and use it yourself. So let's get into it. So for me, this organization system needed to fit a few checklists. Otherwise, it's going to end up like my closet and just be a whole mess of packages of just unsorted chests, right? It needs to fit seamlessly into my environment. If it's something that's taking up a lot of space, it's too bulky, it's not gonna be worth it. It needs to be easily swappable. If the use for it changes, I want it to be able to change with my needs. And the last thing for me is I want it to be renter friendly. If you don't worry about drilling holes in your walls, and it actually makes it easier for you. But for me, I don't like doing that with my walls. And especially since I'm renting a place right now, I can't really do that. So this is my way of getting around that. The first step is to identify what you actually need organized and where you're gonna put it. You can go crazy and organize everything from your tools to your freaking toothbrush, right? But at the end of the day, it's really about making something that you'll use. So optimizing the space that you have for the things that you need most. So I would say if you don't need to necessarily organize it, put that thing into your junk chest, into your closet, and come back to it another time. And so the next thing was making sure you have a efficient space or an optimal space for you. For me, like I said, I didn't want to drill holes into my walls. And as I'm literally looking around, I look at my desk, and I don't know if your desk has this, but there's actually already like pre-drilled holes into the side of your desk. And so I thought maybe I could mount my organization system there. So here's what you guys can do. I would recommend a pegboard system. To me, it's the most clean in design and it's the easiest to understand and to use. I would use this guy's stuff right here. However, if you're in a situation like me, just using pre-made 3D prints from online might not work best for your situation. Why doesn't it work for me? Well, the spacing I have in between the two holes that were pre-drilled into my desk, that guy couldn't have known what that spacing is gonna be, and there's no way that he could predict that or be able to help me with that. And so I have to move on to the next step, which is designing my own pegboard. And so what does that look like? Is it super complicated? You might think that you can't do it, but you can. It's super easy, and I'll show you how I did it. If you're not gonna do it like me and make it custom, then it's a lot simpler for you and you can kind of skip this step. So if you're interested, you can keep listening or you can skip ahead. So basically, there's some measurements you're gonna need to take. I would recommend getting a caliper or a tape measure to take these measurements easily. So first thing is you need your screw to screw distance, right? If you aren't constrained by your screw to screw distance like I am, then you don't have to worry about this. But for me, since those holes are already pre-drilled, I need to make sure I'm taking the measurement of that so I can include that spacing in my SolidWorks drawing. Also, we need to know the spacing that we want to have in between each of the pegs. Do we want to have a bigger space so that way we can fit bigger tools, or do we want to have more smaller pegs in a more compact area? For me, I chose to do kind of like a medium option, and I can show you guys the size that I ended up doing. Let's get straight into the SolidWorks part. I'm gonna go kind of fast, but if you guys have any questions or want me to go more in depth on this, I can make another video. Just leave a comment and I can go more into that. Basically, we are going to be making this pegboard here. This is to my dimensions, but I'm just gonna go through it and it should give you an idea of how to go about this in your own 3D software for your own workspace. First thing you're gonna do a sketch of just like your baseboard. This is with nothing. This is just basically general sizing. So however long you'd like it to be. I've just made this sketch for noting where my screws are, right? Because my screws are pre-drilled, I had to take note of the measurements of that, so that way I know where to put them on the board. Here it is. I tapped this hole using Hole Wizard right here. So you basically just go down, you choose your screw, whichever screw it is. I used M6 screws for the actual fastening part. So go down here, choose M6, and then you're gonna do position, you're gonna click on your surface, and then wherever you had marked your fastener to be, is where you're gonna make the hole. Giving it an extra like 0.13 millimeters of space here helps it helps the thread catch, right? You're just gonna go to Hole Wizard again, choose thread, click OK. You're gonna choose this inner edge here, right? Make sure it looks something like that. Choose M6 if that's the screw you're using to fasten it. You're gonna go ahead and switch this to metric tap since it's a female hole, and then click check. Basically, you're going to do the same thing that we just did, and you are going to use an M14 by 1.5 hole. This is just the easier size to hand screw. You're going to add the same clearance again, because this one we're going to be using our own 3D printed bolt, and I'll show you guys how to make that after this. And then we're going to make a pattern. Click linear pattern up here. Direction, you're going to choose the sketch in the direction that you want to go. You're going to select features and faces, and then you are going to select the thing that you want to. So the reason why I was going this way is because I chose the wrong direction. And then I want it to be symmetric, so it's going to go up and down. And then make sure we're also selecting all of the features that we need. So we're going to choose this M14. We're going to choose this added clearance there. It didn't take the threads, so I'm wondering if I didn't include that. I did not include that, right? So you're gonna just go back and select that. Also mirror this upper thread here. To go about doing that, just use the mirror tool. So you're gonna choose this tap hole for features, the clearance, and the thread. And you're gonna print that over this middle plane there, this sketch here. And I would just use this right plane to get it easily to go over. And so you mirror it. And just a quick thing for the math for how I went about getting from step 4 to step 5. You'll see it says 450 over 2. My 2 screws were 450 spacing apart this way, right? So I wanted to make sure I had that number down. And then to get the spacing more right, every one I added, I would go ahead and divide this by 2. And then I would add another one, so let's make it 4. And then I would divide this by 2. And then it would just keep having even numbers, right? And then I would add another instance to cover up. And I would just kind of keep repeating that just to make sure that like my measurements would still match up from end to end. And I'm just putting in as many spaces as I can. And then I'm just going to make a reference geometry plane here, which you do by clicking reference geometry, clicking on the middle sketch line, and then pressing OK. You might need to choose a second reference just underneath, right? Just to define it. Then I'm going to use that plane I just made, right? And use the same mirror tool. I just did this to free up some space over here, so that way I'm not printing unneeded material, and then I mirrored it. After that, you have your very own custom pegboard to use for whatever you want. So the next step is I'm going to show you guys how to make this guy, right? And so this guy is going to go ahead and it's going to screw in to all these peg holes that you made over here. And basically how you go about making this guy is super simple. First, going to create this cylinder here. I'll show you guys my dimensions for what I did with my pegboard. And then you're going to make another cylinder on top. This one's going to be for the actual threads. I'll also show you guys my dimensions here. This is all in millimeters. For the base one here, I did 10 millimeters. And for this one here, 10 millimeters as well. And then we're just gonna thread it, right? We're gonna use the same threading that we did before, except this time, since it is a male, you're going to choose metric die. Making sure this is M14. Make sure the threads are half on, half off. And then we're gonna add a little taper to this top. To do that, you're going to go to the top here and we're gonna sketch a circle close to this one, but not like entirely. Before I had it like 11.4 because I did some fine tuning and figured out that was the best for me. So I would say use that, but if when you print it and the threads aren't connecting, I would change this and make it a little bit smaller to give it more space, right? That is all you need. And with that, you can start screwing in and you can just go at it. And so the last thing we need to do is we need to put this to print, right? But this is a pretty big file here. Might not be able to fit on your print bed. It wasn't able to fit on mine. And so here's what you do for that. I would use Orca Slicer, right? If you haven't used it before, it's the most simple. First thing you're gonna do, right, is you're going to file, and you're gonna save as, and you're going to save as an STL, save it wherever. All right, so once you have that STL file downloaded, you're gonna go ahead and import that in. You'll see it's kind of big, but you're gonna click on auto orientate, right? You're gonna see it can't fit, right? And so you're gonna go ahead and click this cut button here. Click here, and then you're going to drag it 90 degrees. And then once it is, you can go ahead and move, right, where you want the cut to be. So I'm gonna make a cut here, all right? And you'll see, now we can print some of it. And you're just gonna keep cutting it, right? So there's one part. This part can't fit, so I'm gonna cut this part here as well. Do the same thing, make sure it's at a 90 degree, like so. Right, perform cut. Now we have it split into 3 pieces that we can build together. So it's gonna take 3 prints for this guy. And then you're probably wondering, like, how do we connect them after? You're just gonna make a simple bracket. All right, so this is the bracket. You're going to make a block. You can fill out the block. You're gonna sketch out where you want the hole to be. We're gonna do M6 for this one, where we want these holes to be smaller than the actual pegboard holes, so that way you can go through, right? It's gonna fit through and then screw in. We're gonna go ahead and add a little bit of clearance. We're gonna make the plane like we did before, and then we're gonna mirror. And now you have a bracket. You can use your screws, go ahead, print it, add it to your build plate after you're done printing these, and you can start assembling it. You have done all the CAD work. Oh yeah. And so with that, let's get back to the video. So I just showed you guys how to build your own pegboard in SolidWorks. There are different attachments that you can make as well. But pretty much once you know how to do that threading of your pegboard and get a female to male bolt into it, you can pretty much make anything that you can think of and just screw it in. So now you've printed your pegboard, you have your brackets, all you have left to do is to just like fasten them together. It's pretty amazing. Once you put it together and start putting it to use, it's super satisfying to see that you've made it yourself and it's like exactly what you need. And if you guys have any questions or request anything in specific, I can do like a full video on each one. Now, if you didn't do the custom way and you printed one from online, perfect. You're gonna do the same thing. Just follow whatever their instructions is on the thing that you downloaded. If you don't want to use screws and you want to put on your wall, I would recommend using like 20-pound command strips. I've never had problems with them. In fact, they were great for me. I'm using it right now. They look amazing and you don't have to drill any holes in your walls, which is great. So now you have your own custom organization system, not a one-size-fits-all, but a dedicated, intentional piece of organization that works for the things that you love to do. I think it's pretty cool. You know, it makes the things that you love doing just easier to go about. And so I hope you guys took something from this. I hope you guys found it interesting. If you guys have any more ideas for my organization system, just let me know. I'd love to expand. I've kind of been thinking about it. I think having an entire wall of just pegboard could be pretty cool. Just making different shapes with it and having different things on display. So we'll see how it goes. That was step 1 of building my factory. Hopefully this was a good first step. I think it was. And in the next one, we'll be able to hopefully start building something. So stay tuned to see what that something will be, and take it easy, guys. Peace out.